Hello and welcome to Bear Necessities. My name is Bear and today we're going to continue our Fury's leveling process with a large amount of group content. From 18 to 40, I primarily grouped and grinded dungeons for XP and loot. Our journey begins in Stormhold. Located in the southeast quadrant of Antonica, Stormhold is a dungeon primarily for adventurers around their late teens through their late 20s. For those of you who played EQ1, the story of Stormhold primarily lies around the Bone-Bladed Claymore, a relic actually found in Befallen in EverQuest 1, from a Shadow Knight. The Bone-Bladed Claymore has a lot of lore around it, and I won't go into all the details, only how it intersects with the lore of Stormhold. Essentially, the story starts when Lord Chestguard, the leader of the Knights of Thunder, uncovered the Bone-Bladed Claymore, and it corrupted him and twisted his mind. His army followed his every whim as he commanded them build Stormhold as an outlying fortress for the purpose of housing and armoring his knights, and allowing his followers to worship the god of storms, Karana, in peace. At the time of construction, the Knights of Thunder were in good standing with Kinos, so no one thought twice of their endeavor. After construction of some of the upper chambers, Lord Chestguard continued stressing the need to build deeper and deeper underground, until the true reason of his passion is revealed. The Bone-Bladed Claymore had influenced him to awake the Scions, one of darkness, destruction, pain, and suffering. These Scions ripped through the Knights of Thunder, rendering them ghouls, skeletons, and even worse, corrupted and shapeless oozes, doomed for eternity to forever serve their masters, the Scions. Karana sent his wrath throughout Stormhold in pity for his loyal followers and sealed the corruption inside the deep underground halls, only opened to those willing to fight their way through the perilous hordes. Our party consisted of a paladin, 2 swashes, 2 illusionists, and me on the Fury. We started on the top floor, ran through the foyer, and down to the chessboard, where out of nowhere the Scion of Darkness spawned from the middle of the chessboard. Our paladin perished, but we were able to hold it together and get the Scion down. We picked the paladin back up after that. We cleared the chessboard and got Lord Andros down with only a few casualties, but at this point I was getting a little afraid of how the group was going to go. I was making a lot of mistakes, we were in bad gear, but focused up and we started getting into a groove. Quickly I found myself at level 20 already, as we took out the Charred Fiend in the same area. As we were all getting into our low 20s, we moved to the other side of Stormhold and we started to delve deeper. On the way, I hit level 21 as we cleared out the barracks and we moved towards the forge. After making quick work of Blacksmith Brig, we headed to the stairwell to descend. We pass a party killing the Scion of Pain, and we head through the archery range into the Temple of Thunder. There's a lot of mobs on the way, and there's a lot of mobs that are swarming there, but we eventually get to a ring event that's on the right once you enter. However, once we get there, I was really suspicious at how high the ring event was, and it turned out it was in the 30s. So at this point, we're all still in our early 20s, and we decided to nope out of there. After that, we ran down to the Stormhold library to progress a couple quests we picked up at the front, and I moved back to the armory to finish them. At this point, I'm level 25, and the group decides they want to split up. However, since I hit 25, I was able to describe the circle port that I purchased with all my gold earlier in the last episode, and send my group mates off to wherever they wanted to go. Generally, Stormhold is a wonderful leveling location. Just make sure your tank is pulling things back outside of rooms, as it's easy to get social aggro. Also, be careful down in the chessboard room because each one of the oozes is a triple up heroic, and if you get swarmed, things can go bad fast. Also, as you saw in the video, the Scions will pop up out of nowhere and they have huge aggro ranges. so keep your emergency heals ready for an unexpected pop. Finally, a couple things that I would make sure to get done. Of course, you can grab quests that are along the way, but also try to make sure you get skeleton and zombie lore and legend done, and you'll get some extra XP along the way. Now that we're level 25, it's time to look for a new location to level in, and I decided since we're on the Varsoon server, it's only fitting to spend some time in the ruins of Varsoon. I went LFG, and we soon found a group. The lore behind Varsoon and the ruins of Varsoon is similar to Stormhold in a lot of ways. Varsoon in his younger days was a widely respected sorcerer specifically known for discovering the 8th conundrum, which was essentially the ability to travel through different planes of reality. While he traveled through these planes, he'd bring back different artifacts with different magical abilities, but he eventually happened upon a chalice or a sigil-edged ivory cup, and he would focus his intentions from that moment forward on obtaining immortality. Building a fortress in the plains of Karana, now known as the Thundering Steppes, he started searching for ways to cure death, but he eventually started experimenting on men, women, and children as he descended further and further into madness. When word got out about these horrible acts, Kinos laid siege to Varsoon's keep, and it was burned to the ground. Varsoon was put on trial and burned at the stake. 10,000 people came to witness his execution, and his remains were buried in an unmarked grave. A faction of Bertoculus, brewing in the sewers of Kinos, banded together and started to lay siege to the city in what is called the War of Plagues. And guess who's at the helm leading the Bloodsaber army? Varsoon. It was at this point when he started being known as Varsoon the Undying. However, Varsoon and the Bloodsaber army were arrogant, and the Kinos Guard crushed their forces. Upon finding Varsoon's mangled corpse, the Celestial Watch in Kinos performed a divine magic specifically tuned to eradicate liches. Varsoon's corpse was completely burned to ash and entombed in a small island called the Forbidden Isle right outside of Kinos. In the chaos that was the shattering and the destruction of Luclin, Varsoon's tomb was damaged, and while they don't know exactly what happened, it's rumored that either dark magic perfectly timed or the meteors of Luclin weakened the lock on his remains, and it was discovered that they were missing. The ruins of Varsoon starts to become an epicenter of activity for the undead and the remnants of the forces from the War Plagues. And now, we'll dive into these ruins to see if Varsoon lives up to his name, the Undying. Our group makeup was less than ideal, with the Berserker, Shadow Knight, and Monk, a Templar, an Illusionist, and me. However, we made it work. So we started on the backside so we could get deeper into Varsoon quickly, and because there's a lot of named you can roam around to in the area. There's the Tomes of Life and Death, the Weave Master, the Butcher, the Cook, the Creator. There's some named Golems, the Forge Master, and finally there's 3 rooms in which ring events spawn. So the idea of a ring event, and I think I've talked about it before, is essentially you just kill a wave of mobs, and then another wave, and then another wave, and then another wave, and then a boss will spawn at the end. For these, each one has 3 to 4 waves, and then at the end there's a named mob that spawns. I will say that these are super good XP because the groups that you kill in each wave are a lot of XP. So if you're in the ruins of Varsoon, make sure you go down there. Leveling was definitely a breeze in the ruins of Varsoon, and while we had to take it slow because of our lack of DPS, we made it through just fine. And as we got more and more levels, the kills and XPs kept flowing faster and faster. Also near the ring events, the 3 different ring events, there's an instant zone called the Chamber of Immortality, where you actually face off against Varsoon the Undying himself. The Chamber of Immortality is also a ring event. Usually your group will go into the zone and go into the room on the left without entering the middle of the arena. The tank or one person will go into range of Varsoon in the middle of the arena, and it starts the ring event. However, they retreat back to the room so that the waves of each wave can be pulled one by one. The waves of mobs definitely harken back to the lore of Varsoon because of his travels to the different planes of reality. Specifically, he summons beasts from the Shadow Plane in this fight. The first few waves of Void Beast are summoned, and honestly I really enjoy these mobs because they make the room dark, which is actually a pretty cool effect. But they're pretty easy to take out. There's usually 3 to 4 Void Beasts in each group. So after taking those out, he summons a Lamia, which is just kind of like a demon or shadow beast. And she actually hits really hard at the beginning. I think she harm touches, so make sure to heal that up fast. And also she usually drops some sort of exquisite chest, so like a master spell or something, which is super interesting. Make sure that you have either disarm or that you heal up before you open that chest though. Then Varsoon himself spawns. Varsoon the Undying hits pretty hard because he has an AoE that does super devastating damage. However, it is easily rangeable, so if you just back out of range, you're fine. However, our group only had 3 range, so our tanks were getting hit pretty hard by the AoE. But we just heal through it, and we eventually take out Varsoon the Undying. At this point, we had a handle on the zone, and we just looped some of the names, some of the ring events that I was speaking at before, until we could do Varsoon again. The Chamber of Immortality has a 1.5 hour lockout timer, so we essentially just looped things for an hour and a half so we could do it one more time before breaking up. I went from level 25 to like my early 30s here. But yeah, it was generally, this zone is pretty straightforward. I think the biggest things that I would watch out for is roaming golems. They often like turn around at little intersection points, so when you pull them, make sure to pull them out of those intersection points so you don't get ads. Other than that, the rooms are a little tight, or some of them are at least, so make sure that you're kind of pulling out of those rooms instead of trying to fight inside, so you don't get roamers or social aggro. And that's pretty much it for Ruins of Varsoon. So next stop is Runnyeye. To get from level 33 to 40, we leveled in Runnyeye. I don't want to get too much into the lore of Runnyeye as it's similar to its EQ1 manifestation. However, in EQ2, essentially the forces of the Gorge of King Zorb, so Minotaurs, Mudmen, Boar Fiends, and Evil Eyes all joined forces alongside the goblins to guard Runnyeye. Runnyeye is just a fortress located in the hills of the Enchanted Lands, and the Enchanted Lands is essentially just the entire area around the Hobbit starting area in EQ1. So Runnyeye is a super densely packed dungeon. There's tons of mobs and almost all of them are triple up heroics, so there's not a whole lot of room for error. You have to be super careful with your pulls, and a lot of times you need to proxy pull. So proxy pulling or proximity pulling is the act of kind of just inching up close to trigger the aggro range of a mob, then backing up and not attacking it until it gets to your group. This type of pulling makes it so that social mobs that are right near those mobs, they won't also add in because they run to you. Once you engage them, you're out of range of the social mob. So for tanks or pullers, you know, this is a super important concept to learn, and it's something that you're going to use all the time. On top of the super densely packed rooms, there are random non-aggro triple ups, namely scrap dashers, that will add in if you use blue spells or AoE near them. You can also use blue spells through walls and pull other mobs, and things like that were the cause of many wipes for our groups. And unfortunately, the respawn in Runnyeye is super fast. So say you get halfway down to one of the instances and you die, you pretty much are going to be fighting everything to get back to where you were. However, you know, the EXP wasn't terrible here, and we didn't have the best group makeup, but we definitely slogged through it until I was eventually level 40. And honestly, we were just grinding on goblins, minotaurs, golems, and boar fiends, trying to make our way to one of the instances. However, we didn't get to all of them, we just got to one. So there's 2 instances in Runnyeye. One is Chamber of Rolgax, and the other is the Overlord's Throne Room. We did make it to Rolgax, and it eventually was the point that kind of finished me off to level 40. where at that point I took a break after a long day of leveling from pretty much 18 to 40. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this style of an abbreviated let's play with some lore, please let me know. I had to dig through a ton of footage to get exactly what I wanted for this video. However, I will say once I get through this leveling series, once we get to 50, I do want to move the channel back to more topical content, and all my let's plays will be live streamed, either here or on Twitch, and eventually I'll dual stream once I figure out how to do that. So my let's plays will usually be centered around, you know, maybe some heritage quests in the near future, and also Wednesday is my first raid, so I'll be shooting to stream that as well. But if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like or comment below, and if you want to support the channel, hit the subscribe button and notification bell for alerts when new content is available. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.